When a black man is pulled over on a dark street by a racist police officer drunk on power, what begins as a routine stop explodes into a battle of truth, fear, and survival. But the twist shakes the city. The man he tried to humiliate is none other than Marcus Hale, the head of internal affairs. From the tense roadside confrontation, to silent witnesses caught between loyalty and justice, to the walls of the police station where fear cracks under truth, Kane Bradley's empire of intimidation begins to crumble. Through secret videos, broken silence, and a relentless investigation, the lies collapse in a storm of testimony and betrayal. In the courtroom, poetic justice lands heavy, stripping Cain of his badge, his power, and his false pride, while a young witness and a determined Marcus remind the world that silence feeds injustice, but truth destroys it. The street was nearly empty, painted in the pale orange glow of failing streetlights. Detective Marcus Hale drove in silence, one hand on the wheel, the other resting against his temple. Midnight pressed heavy on his shoulders, but his mind refused rest. Meetings, reports, another reminder that justice was always uphill. Red and blue lights sliced through the night. Marcus sighed. Here we go again. He pulled to the curb, calm but weary, and lowered the window. The officer approached with a swagger, flashlight beam cutting across Marcus's face. License and registration. The voice was curt, no greeting. Marcus kept his tone even. Evening, officer. May I ask what the stop is for? The cop's lip curled. You match the description. Marcus raised a brow. Description of what? The flashlight pressed closer. Of someone who doesn't belong here. Silence thickened. Marcus studied the man, mid-30s, buzz-cut, pale skin, taut with authority. His badge read, Cain. Marcus moved slowly, retrieving his wallet. My license and registration are in the glove compartment. I'll get them now. Cain stepped back half an inch but kept his hand near his holster. Do it slow. Don't try anything cute. Marcus handed over the documents. His name gleamed under the light. Marcus Hale. Cain smirked as though unimpressed. What brings you out this late, Marcus? The officer's use of first name dripped with disdain. I'm heading home from work, Marcus said evenly. Work, huh? Cain leaned on the car door. What kind of work keeps a man like you out in this neighborhood at midnight? A lawful one. Marcus's voice was calm, measured, but beneath it a storm brewed. Cain chuckled. Lawful, huh? You talk fancy. You a lawyer or something? Something like that. The officer circled the car, shining the beam across the seats. This your vehicle? It is. Nice ride. Doesn't exactly scream. Your background. Cain's tone sharpened with suggestion. Marcus locked eyes with him. And what background is that, Officer Cain? Cain smirked, tapping the roof. You know what I mean. The silence stretched. The night air carried only the faint buzz of street lamps, and Cain's shallow breathing. Marcus inhaled slowly. Are we finished here? Cain stepped closer again, his shadow filling the driver's side. Not even close. Step out of the car. Marcus's jaw tightened. He considered revealing himself now, flashing the badge that would end this charade. But another part of him, the part carved from years of injustice, wanted to see how far Cain would go. He unbuckled, opened the door, and stepped out. The street swallowed the sound. Cain towered with smug authority, flashlight still in hand. You think you're better than me, don't you? Cain said. I think, Marcus replied calmly, that this stop has no lawful basis. Cain's eyes narrowed. He gripped Marcus's license tighter. We'll see about that. The chapter ended with Marcus standing under the harsh lights, quiet fury rising. While Cain believed himself untouchable, blind to the truth gleaming in the eye he barely glanced at, Marcus Hale, head of internal affairs. The night pressed down, heavier now. Marcus stood tall beside his car, hands loose at his sides, every muscle restrained. Cain's flashlight beam flickered over him like a judge's gavel. Spread your arms, Cain ordered. Stepping closer, Marcus's voice was calm but still. On what charge? You questioning me? Cain barked, his hand brushing the butt of his pistol. I'm asking for lawful grounds. Cain's smirk widened. Grounds? You think you get to set the rules here? Out here, I decide who looks suspicious. And you, he circled Marcus slowly, flashlight cutting across his tailored suit, look real suspicious. Marcus said nothing. His silence carried more weight than words. Cain shoved the flashlight against Marcus's chest, arms out. Now. Marcus lifted them, slow, deliberate. His voice dropped low. You're making a mistake. Cain patted him down roughly, hands jabbing at pockets, shoulders, legs, feels like the right move to me. You hiding drugs, weapon, maybe a stolen phone. Marcus's jaw flexed. You've found nothing. Cain leaned in, close enough that Marcus could feel his breath. Not yet. A second set of headlights swept the street. Another cruiser pulled up, brakes squealing. Out stepped a younger officer's lender, nervous, his name tag read Lopez. Everything okay here? Lopez asked carefully. Cain waved him off. Got it under control. Just educating our friend here. Marcus turned his head slightly. You see what's happening, Officer Lopez. Lopez froze, eyes darting between them. He gave a small nod but said nothing. Cain sneered. Don't waste your breath. He knows the drill. Marcus's voice cut like a blade. Silence makes accomplices. Cain's expression hardened. He shoved Marcus against the car, palm pressing the back of his neck. Hey, Lopez muttered, half-stepping forward. Cain shot him a glare. I said I got it handled. Marcus's face pressed against the cool metal of his car. His voice was muffled but firm. Excessive force, unlawful detention. Do you know the weight of those words, Officer Cain? Cain laughed harshly. All I hear is a man resisting. I haven't moved. You talk too much. That's resistance where I'm from. Marcus closed his eyes. Memories flooded the first time he was stopped at 18. Hands cuffed on a sidewalk for matching a description. The sting of a baton years later during a peaceful protest. Always the same. Suspicion first, humanity last. Cain tugged his arm, forcing it higher. Maybe I should take you in. Let the system sort you out. Marcus's voice steadied, iron beneath calm. Be very sure of the choice you make next. Cain's grin faltered, just for a flicker. Then he squeezed tighter, desperate to reassert dominance. Lopez shifted uneasily, voice low. Bradley, maybe we should run the plates. Check his ID again. Cain barked a laugh. Plates don't matter. I already know what kind he is. The words landed like acid. Marcus inhaled sharply, grounding himself, refusing to give Cain the satisfaction of rage. You don't know anything, Marcus said. His voice so quiet it forced Cain to lean closer. But you will. Cain pressed his knee into Marcus's back, whispering like a victor claiming a prize. Not tonight, buddy. Tonight, I own you. The street was silent except for the faint hum of Lopez's cruiser. Shame pooled in the young officer's eyes. But he said nothing. Marcus stared at the dark pavement beneath him, fury locked behind clenched teeth. He could end this charade with a single flash of his badge, but no, not yet, because sometimes justice required patience. The street was quiet, but not empty. A teenager leaned against a lamppost across the road, phone in hand. His hoodie shadowed his face, but the tiny red light of the camera betrayed his intent. Jamal's voice whispered into the night, shaky but determined. I got this. I got it all. Cain's head snapped toward him. Hey, put that damn phone down. Marcus lifted his head from the car's surface, eyes locking with Jamal's.com. Deliberate. Keep recording. Cain snarled, pressing Marcus harder against the hood. Shut your mouth. Jamal's voice trembled but didn't stop. I ain't moving. Everybody gonna see this. Cain took a step forward, releasing Marcus just enough to point his flashlight at Jamal. Kid, you're interfering with police business. You want to spend the night in jail? Jamal swallowed but kept the camera steady. This ain't police business. This is you harassing a black man. Marcus's lips curved, faint, almost imperceptible. A spark of hope flickered in the boy's defiance. Cain growled. You don't know who you're talking to. Jamal shot back. Neither do you. The words hung sharp in the air. Lopez shifted, glancing nervously at Cain, then at the kid. Marcus straightened slightly, though Cain's grip lingered on his shoulder. His voice carried authority, quiet but unbreakable. Officer Lopez, you see him. He's not interfering. He's witnessing. Witnesses keep the truth alive. Lopez's lips parted, but no sound came. His silence screamed louder than words. Cain snapped. He shoved Marcus hard against the car again. You think you're some kind of leader out here, teaching lessons. His tone dripped venom. You're nothing but a. He stopped himself, but the unfinished slur poisoned the air nonetheless. Jamal's voice cracked. I got that. I'm still recording. Cain whirled. I said put it down. Jamal flinched but stood his ground. Nah, not tonight. Marcus turned his head, his cheek against cold metal. Good. Don't stop. No matter what he says, no matter what he threatens, keep it rolling. The boy's breathing was ragged, but he nodded, determination stealing his grip on the phone. Cain cursed under his breath. His control, once absolute, now felt fragile. The light of Jamal's phone was a mirror exposing him. Lopez spoke suddenly, voice low. Bradley, maybe just let him go. This don't look right. Cain shot him a glare sharp enough to cut. You shut up. You hear me? You shut up and stand there. Lopez froze again, shame crawling across his face. Marcus's voice, soft but searing, cut through the night. You see, even your partner feels it, the weight of wrong, but he'll stay silent, unless he chooses courage. Lopez looked down. He didn't choose. Cain tightened his grip. That's enough. You're under arrest. Marcus didn't flinch. For what charge? Resisting, obstructing, whatever I write on the damn paper. You know that won't hold. Cain leaned close. Venom in every word. Doesn't matter. Tonight, you ride in the back of my car, and tomorrow, nobody cares. Jamal's voice came stronger now. Anger, overcoming fear. Everybody's gonna care. I'm putting this online the second I get home. Whole city's gonna see what you're doing. Cain's eyes darted, calculating. For the first time, doubt crept into his sneer. Marcus finally lifted his head, his voice smooth as glass. You're already finished, Cain. You just don't know it yet. The night stood still. 3 men, one clinging to power, one drowning in silence, one refusing to bow, and the fourth, recording it all, holding the truth in trembling hands. Cain stepped back, mask of arrogance sliding back over his face, though cracks showed at the edges. We'll see who's finished. Marcus adjusted his jacket, straightening, eyes locked on Cain.com/patient, a storm waiting. The flashlight beam wavered as Cain turned away, barking hollow orders, but the damage was done. The witness had arrived, and truth had a camera. The night had gone still, as if the world itself held its breath. Cain paced in front of Marcus, adrenaline burning in his veins. Jamal's phone hovered steady across the street, its small red light like an unblinking eye. Lopez stood stiff, frozen in shame. Marcus exhaled slowly, brushing the wrinkles from his jacket. His voice was low, steady. Enough. Cain whipped around. What did you say? I said, enough. Marcus turned fully to face him, eyes sharp. This charade ends now. Cain smirked, though unease prickled beneath the surface. Charade, man, you don't get to decide when this ends. Marcus reached into the car slowly, deliberately, retrieving a black leather case. He held it at his side, unopened. His gaze never left Cain's. You've been asking who I am, Marcus said. His tone was measured, like a teacher correcting a foolish student. It's time you learned. Cain barked a laugh. Oh, let me guess. You're some big-shot lawyer, a pastor, maybe a motivational speaker. Marcus's lips curved faintly. Detective Marcus Hale, head of internal affairs. The words cracked the night like thunder. Lopez's breath caught audibly. Internal affairs. Cain blinked, laugh stuttering. What? You expect me to believe that? Marcus flipped open the case. The badge gleamed under the streetlight, catching every angle of truth. The gold shimmered against the darkness like a verdict. Cain's smirk faltered, just for a second. Then he forced it back, brittle and thin. Fake, gotta be. You think flashing some toy shield's gonna scare me? Marcus stepped forward, eyes blazing but voiced calm. Does this look like a toy? Lopez's hand rose halfway before dropping again. Bradley, it's real. His voice cracked. That's the IA crest. Cain rounded on him. Shut your damn mouth. But Lopez didn't. He stared at Marcus with something between fear and relief. Marcus snapped his case shut. You've been playing with fire, Officer Cain, and you just burned yourself alive. Cain's jaw clenched. He tried to laugh again, but it came out jagged. So what? You think this changes anything? You think your little title makes you better than me? Marcus's voice deepened, every syllable heavy as iron. No, it doesn't make me better. It makes me responsible. Responsible for officers like you. Responsible for cleaning rot out of this badge. Jamal's voice called from across the street, shaky but thrilled. I got it all, Mr. Hale. Every second. Cain spun toward him, face twisting. Delete that video or Marcus cut him off. Sharp, or what? Threaten a child to go ahead. Add to your list. Cain's fists trembled at his sides. You don't scare me. Marcus stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. His calm was surgical, dissecting Cain's bravado, piece by piece. I don't need to scare you. The truth already has. Cain's mask cracked again. Sweat gleamed at his hairline. Marcus turned slowly, eyes settling on Lopez. And you stood silent while he degraded me, while he put hands on me without cause. You watched. Lopez swallowed hard. I didn't know what to do. You did, Marcus countered. You chose silence. Silence is complicity. Lopez flinched, guilt carving lines into his face. Cain snarled, desperate to reclaim control. Don't listen to him. He's twisting it. He's enough. Marcus's voice boomed now, years of command filling the air. Even Cain recoiled. Marcus tucked his badge away and stood taller, unshaken. This stop was over the moment you saw my license. You ignored it. You ignored the law. And now, his eyes locked with Cain's. Now your career ends where this street begins. The silence that followed was suffocating. Only Jamal's shaky breath and the faint hum of streetlights remained. Cain's bravado melted, leaving raw desperation. You can't do this. You don't have that kind of power. Marcus's stare didn't waver. Internal Affairs has all the power it needs, and I have the evidence. Cain opened his mouth, then closed it. His words failed him. Marcus adjusted his tie.com once more. Go ahead, Officer Cain. Write your false charges. Put your lies on paper. Every stroke will be another nail in your coffin. Jamal whispered into his phone, narrating. Man just ended him. Ended him right there. Cain's shoulders sagged, his arrogance leaking out like air from a punctured tire. For the first time that night, he looked small. And Marcus Helcom, unbroken, looked, every inch the man who carried justice on his shoulders. The night pressed heavy, but the power on the street had shifted. Cain's swagger was gone, leaking out in beads of sweat. Lopez stood stiff near the curb, his hands twitching. Gaze fixed anywhere but Marcus. Marcus turned toward him slowly, the way a judge turns to a jury. His voice was measured, sharp enough to pierce the silence. Officer Lopez. Lopez jolted, spine snapping straight. Why, yes, sir. Marcus stepped closer, eyes steady. Tell me, what did you see here tonight? Lopez's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted to Cain. Marcus's tone deepened. Look at me. Not him. Me. Lopez swallowed. I saw a stop. A stop. Marcus tilted his head. That's all. Not the illegal search. Not the shove against the hood. Not the threats. Lopez's lips trembled. I didn't know what to do. Cain snapped, voice sharp. Don't say a damn word, Lopez. Marcus raised a hand, silencing Cain without even looking at him. His eyes stayed locked on Lopez. You knew. You always know. Silence is not ignorance, it is choice. Lopez shifted, shame dripping from his posture. He's my partner. We back each other up. Back each other up. Marcus's voice cut clean. Even when he crosses the line, even when he breaks the law he swore to uphold. Lopez's voice cracked. If I speak up, they'll turn on me. Marcus stepped closer, his presence heavy as truth itself. They already have. Do you think loyalty protects you? Tonight it chained you to his crimes. Lopez's eyes flicked down, then away. His silence screamed louder than words. Cain barked, desperate. Don't listen to him, Lopez. He's just trying to turn us against each other. Marcus's gaze sharpened. You already turned against yourself the moment you stayed quiet. Jamal's voice carried from across the street, recording still rolling. He's right. Whole world watching now. Lopez flinched at the sound of Jamal's voice. At the reminder this wasn't just between them, Marcus pressed forward. Tell the truth, Lopez, right here, right now. Did you witness abuse of authority tonight? Lopez's jaw worked, torn between fear and conscience. Cain's glare bored into him like a loaded weapon. Marcus leaned in, his tone low but commanding. This is your chance. One day, you'll stand before something bigger than me, and you'll wish you had spoken when it mattered. The silence stretched, unbearable. Lopez's voice finally cracked through it, trembling. Yes, I saw it. I saw everything. Cain exploded. You spineless traitor. Marcus turned on him, voice sharp as thunder. Quiet. Cain froze, the words striking like a blow. Marcus faced Lopez again. Good. Remember this moment. Tonight you chose truth. Tomorrow, you will answer for your silence before. But tonight too chose truth. Lopez nodded weakly, shoulders sagging, relief and shame colliding on his face. Cain sneered, spitting words like venom. You think this means anything? Can't touch me. My people won't let it happen. Marcus's eyes burned into him, unblinking. Your people. He shook his head slowly. The badge is not yours to twist. It belongs to the law, and the law will have you. Cain's bravado faltered again. Marcus stepped back, turning slightly so both officers stood in his line of sight. His tone carried finality. This stop is over, but the reckoning is not. Remember that silence will not save either of you again. Lopez dropped his gaze, shame consuming him. Cain stared, fury hollowing his chest. And Marcus composed, unshaken, stood as the embodiment of the truth neither of them could escape. The precinct buzzed like a hive when Cain stormed through the doors the next morning. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes betrayed a restless night. He threw his keys onto his desk with a clang, drawing looks from nearby officers. "They're saying you got into it with somebody last night," an older sergeant muttered. "That true?" Cain's smirk returned, though thinner than before. "Just another loudmouth. I handled it." The sergeant raised a brow. "Word is, internal affairs handled you." The room went still. Heads lifted from paperwork, eyes peeking over coffee mugs. Cain forced a laugh. Please." Some punk flashed the badge, probably fake. But the whispers had already spread. Marcus Hale entered minutes later. Not in uniform, he didn't need it. His tailored suit, calm stride, and unflinching gaze carried more weight than any badge on the floor. Conversations hushed instantly. Cain's smile faltered. "You've got to be kidding me." Marcus scanned the room, his voice even. "Good morning, officers." Murmurs rippled, nervous, hushed. Some avoided his gaze. Others leaned in, hungry for the show. Cain stood quickly, voiced loud, forced. "This man harassed me during a stop last night. He's spinning lies, trying to smear me." Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Is that what you told yourself? Or is that the story you rehearsed?" Laughter bubbled from one corner, quickly stifled. Cain flushed. "Don't you see what's happening?" Cain barked, sweeping his glare across the room. "They're sending IA to tear us down, to make us look weak." Marcus's tone sliced through the air, calm but cutting. "Weakness is not exposed by oversight. It is exposed by corruption." Several officers shifted uncomfortably. Cain pointed a finger at Marcus. "You're not one of us. You sit in an office, pushing papers, judging people who do the real work." Marcus stepped forward, slow, deliberate. His gaze never wavered. "Real work? Is that what you call profiling innocent men, shoving them against cars, threatening children who dare to hold a phone?" The room crackled with tension. Cain's bravado wavered, his eyes darting to the corners of the room for support. A young officer spoke from the back, hesitant. "I heard there's a video." The whisper spread like fire. "Video, video, video." Cain's jaw tightened. "Lies, staged." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You sound afraid." "I'm not afraid." Cain's voice cracked under the weight of eyes on him. "Then sit down." Marcus's command landed like a gavel. Cain froze. The silence was suffocating. Slowly, he lowered himself back into his chair. Fury blazing but chained. Marcus turned to the room, his voice steady, purposeful. "This is not about one officer. This is about a culture that lets silence shield abuse. Every one of you knows what that silence feels like. You see it, you hear it, and too often, you turn away." Murmurs swept through the room, some defensive, some guilty, some relieved. An older detective spoke quietly. "He's not wrong," Cain snapped. "Don't start with that." But the cracks had spread. Officers who once looked at Cain with respect now studied him with suspicion. Marcus nodded, eyes scanning every face. "The investigation begins today. Statements will be taken, evidence reviewed. No one is above the law, not even the badge." The weight of his words hung heavy, undeniable. Cain leaned forward, voice low but venomous. "You think you've won something. You think you can walk in here and tear me down. They'll back me. They always do." Marcus met his glare with calm certainty. "Not this time." The sergeant who first questioned Cain leaned back in his chair, voice dry. "Sounds like you've got a problem, Bradley." Snickers rippled through the room. Cain's ears burned red. Marcus turned away, already done with him. "I'll be in the conference room. Those who are ready to speak truth, come forward. Those who prefer silence, your silence will be recorded too." He walked out, each step heavy with quiet authority. As the door closed, the room erupted in whispers. Officers leaned together, trading fragments of fear, anger, and grim satisfaction. Cain sat rigid, fists clenched, staring at the door as if it had swallowed his career whole, and somewhere deep down, he knew it had. The conference room was stark, its fluorescent lights buzzing like insects. A long table stretched between Marcus and the officers called in one by one. A recorder sat in the center, its red light glowing like a watchful eye. Marcus's voice was calm, even, professional. "State your name for the record." The first officer shifted nervously. "Officer Daniels." Marcus leaned forward. Officer Daniels, did you ever witness Officer Cain engage in racial profiling or unnecessary force? Daniels hesitated. His eyes darted to the door, as if Cain might burst in. I don't want trouble. Marcus's gaze sharpened. Trouble is already here. You have a choice. Truth or silence. Silence ties you to him. Daniels swallowed. There were times, stops that didn't make sense. People pulled over for no reason. He'd rough them up sometimes. Marcus nodded, pressing gently. Did you report it? No, why not? Daniels's shoulders sagged. Nobody reports Cain. You do that, you're done. He's got friends. Marcus's voice was steady, firm. Friends don't save you when the evidence comes to light. Speak the truth now, and you free yourself from his shadow. Daniels lowered his head. Yeah, I saw it. More than once. The recorder captured every word. The door opened again. Officer Lopez entered, pale eyes, sunken from a sleepless night. He sat stiffly, hands gripping the chair. Marcus didn't waste time. For the record, Officer Lopez, did you witness misconduct by Officer Cain during last night's traffic stop? Lopez's throat worked. Yes, describe it. He profiled the driver, searched without cause, used force without justification, threatened arrest without charge. Marcus nodded once. Did you intervene? Lopez's voice cracked. No, why not? Lopez closed his eyes. Fear, loyalty, habit. I don't know anymore. Marcus's tone softened, just slightly. You know, fear of losing your place, loyalty to a man instead of the law, habit of silence. But tonight, you broke that pattern. Let the record show. He admitted truth. Lopez's shoulders trembled, but he nodded. Later, Marcus sat with Jamal in the same room. The boy's hoodie hung loose, his phone clutched like treasure. His eyes flickered nervously between Marcus and the door. You did something brave, Marcus said gently. Jamal shook his head. I was just scared. Thought he was gonna hurt you. Thought maybe he'd come for me too. Marcus leaned forward. And yet you kept recording. Jamal's voice steadied. Somebody had to. If I didn't, it'd be your word against his. And we know how that ends. Marcus's eyes softened, a rare crack in his steel composure. You're right. Too often, truth dies without a witness. Jamal unlocked his phone, sliding it across the table. The screen glowed with the video. Cain's voice sneering. His shove, his threats. The word boy spat like poison. Marcus pressed play, letting the sound fill the sterile room. Every insult echoed, each shove immortalized. Cain's mask was stripped bare on the screen. Jamal whispered. The world needs to see this. They will, Marcus promised. The investigation stretched into days. Files piled high, complaints, long buried. Cases Cain had twisted. People he'd left humiliated. Marcus read each one, his jaw tightening with every page. A female officer sat across from him, her voice low. I filed a report once. Said he pulled a guy over just for walking in the wrong neighborhood. My supervisor told me to let it go. Next week, my car tires were slashed. Marcus recorded every word, his pen moving steadily. Did you connect it to Cain? Her eyes darkened. Who else? Each testimony built the wall higher, bricks of truth closing in on Cain. What was once whispered fear turned to recorded fact. By the third day, officers no longer avoided Marcus in the halls. Some nodded quietly, grateful. Others looked away, ashamed of how long they'd been silent. Cain, once loud and brash, now skulked through the precinct like a cornered animal. He muttered threats under his breath, but no one rallied behind him. His empire of fear was crumbling. Bafta stood at the head of the conference table. Jamal's video paused on the screen behind him. Lopez, Daniels, and others sat in the room, their statements fresh on record. This is more than one man's misconduct, Marcus said, his voice carrying through the room. This is the system that let him thrive. But the tide turns when people refuse silence. Lopez lowered his gaze, shame burning. Daniels nodded faintly. Jamal clutched his phone, eyes wide with the weight of what he had done. Marcus straightened. The case moves forward. Internal Affairs will present findings at a disciplinary hearing. Officer Cain will answer for every word, every action, every silence. He looked around the room, his voice firm as stone. Justice is slow, but it arrives. The interrogation room was cold, steel gray walls swallowing every sound. A single bulb hung overhead, buzzing faintly. Cain sat slouched in the chair, his hands cuffed to the table. He tried to look bored, but his jaw worked restlessly, grinding invisible teeth. Marcus entered without ceremony. His suit was immaculate, his posture unyielding. He set a folder on the table, its corners sharp, its weight undeniable. Cain smirked. So, this is it, your big power trip. Marcus sat across from him. Calm as stone. This is accountability. Cain leaned forward, chains rattling. You think you got me cornered, but I've been in tighter spots. IA comes after me every year, and I'm still standing. Marcus flipped the folder open. Pages slid across the metal table. Not like this. Cain glanced down. Complaint forms, photos, transcripts. His smirk twitched. Marcus's voice was steady, cutting, pattern of profiling, excessive force, witness intimidation. And now, he pressed play on a small recorder. Jamal's video filled the room. Cain's voice sneering. The shove, the word boy spat like venom. Cain shifted, his laugh forced. Kid edited that. You can't trust some punk with a phone. Marcus didn't blink. The camera doesn't lie. And neither do the officers who finally broke silence. Cain's head snapped up. He stopped himself, realizing the betrayal. Marcus leaned closer, his tone dropping to a scalpel's edge. You built your power on fear, but fear doesn't last. When truth arrives, fear scatters. Cain slammed his cuffed hands against the table. You don't understand. Out there, it's us against them. You sit in your office, reading reports. You don't know what it's like on the street. Marcus's eyes burned, controlled fury behind calm words. I know exactly what it's like. I've lived it on the other side of your gun, your flashlight, your suspicion. Don't talk to me about the street. Cain faltered, words caught in his throat. Marcus continued, each word deliberate. The difference is, I never let the badge turn me into a predator. Cain tried to sneer again, but it crumbled. His voice thinned. I did what I had to. People respect strengths. No, Marcus countered. They feared abuse. That's not respect. That's rot. Cain's shoulders sagged. The chains clinked softly. For the first time, he looked less like a wolf and more like prey. Marcus slid another document forward. These are your fellow officers' statements. Some who once kept silent. They've spoken now. About the man you are. About the damage you've done. Cain's eyes darted across the pages. The words blurred, his breath quickening. They're lying. They're free, Marcus corrected. Free from you. The silence that followed pressed heavy, suffocating. Cain's bravado drained away, leaving desperation. He leaned forward, voice cracking. Come on, Hale. We're both cops. You know the game. Cut me a deal. Make this disappear, and I'll walk away. No trouble for you. Marcus's expression didn't change. I'm not here to make deals. I'm here to end them. Cain's face twisted, rage clawing back. You think you're better than me? You think you wear that badge cleaner? You'll fall just like the rest of us. Nobody stays clean in this job. Marcus's voice rose, sharp as a gavel. I don't need to be clean. I need to be honest. And honesty has already destroyed you. Cain sagged back, breathing hard. His chains rattled faintly as he shook his head. You don't know what they'll do to me. When this gets out, I'm finished. Marcus's eyes narrowed. That's not fear of justice. That's fear of losing the power you abused. That fear is justice. Cain's voice broke, softer now, almost pleading. Please, don't let them take everything. Marcus rose slowly, gathering the folder. His voice was final, ironclad. You took everything from others. Their dignity, their peace, their safety. Tonight, justice takes it back. He turned toward the door. Cain shouted after him, voice cracking with desperation. Hale, you can't just walk out. Say something. Do something. Marcus paused at the door, his silhouette framed by the harsh light. He looked back, eyes cold, voice calm. I already did. The door shut with a hollow thud, leaving Cain alone with his chains, his fear, and the echo of truth he could no longer escape. The disciplinary hearing chamber was packed, every seat filled. The air vibrated with murmurs. Officers in uniform, civilians who'd filed complaints, reporters with notebooks ready. For years, whispers had followed Kane Bradley like a shadow. Today, the whispers had gathered into a storm. At the front sat the review board, 3 senior officials in dark suits, their expressions carved from stone. A gavel struck wood. Officer Bradley, you stand accused of repeated misconduct, racial profiling, excessive force, and abuse of authority. Do you have a statement before proceedings begin? Cain rose, shackled, though he carried himself with a defiant swagger. His eyes swept the crowd, searching for allies, finding few. He forced a smirk. This is a witch hunt. I did my job. I kept the streets safe. And this, he jerked his chin at Marcus, seated calmly nearby. This is politics. A vendetta. Whispers rippled. Some scoffed. Others shook their heads. The board chair raised a hand. You will have your chance, but first, evidence. Marcus stood, buttoning his jacket. He walked to the center of the room, his voice steady, deliberate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about politics. This is about truth. He pressed a button on the projector. Jamal's video lit up the screen. Cain's sneer, his shove, the word boy echoing across the chamber. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cain shifted, his face tight. Marcus's voice carried. This video is one night in a long pattern. A child recorded what too many adults ignored, but silence ends here. He turned to the side. Officer Lopez, please step forward. Lopez walked slowly to the stand, sweat beading on his brow. He cleared his throat. I was there. Cain. He profiled the driver, threatened him without cause. Everything you saw in that video, it's real, and it wasn't the first time. Cain shot him a look sharp enough to cut steel. Lopez's voice wavered but didn't break. I stayed silent too long. I'm not proud, but I won't lie today. The room buzzed. Marcus nodded. Thank you, Officer Lopez. Truth is not easy, but it is necessary. Next came Daniels. His voice was low, but his words clear. He pulled over families for nothing, searched cars without reason. I saw him rough up men who didn't fight back. I didn't stop him, but I saw it. Cain slammed his cuffed fists on the table. Liars, all of you. You're selling me out because he's dangling IA over your heads. The board chair banged the gavel. Order. Marcus turned, his gaze unwavering. No one dangled anything. They chose truth over silence. That is the difference between your legacy and theirs. The board signaled for the next piece. Marcus lifted a thick folder. Complaints, over 30 in 10 years. Everyone dismissed or buried, but together, they tell the same story. He read excerpts: men describing humiliation, women describing threats, mothers describing fear for their sons. Each word filled the chamber, stacking higher and higher, until Cain's protests sounded small. Finally, Marcus gestured to the side. One last voice. From the back, Jamal rose. His hoodie was replaced by a pressed shirt, but his phone was still in his hand like armor. He walked forward, eyes darting nervously around the chamber. The chair asked, "State your name." Jamal Davis. His voice shook, then steadied. I recorded the video. He lifted the phone, replaying the clip for emphasis. His voice grew stronger. I did it because I was scared, because I thought nobody would believe him unless I showed the truth. I'm just a kid, but I knew silence wouldn't help. The chamber went quiet. Marcus's gaze softened as he spoke. This boy had more courage than a room full of officers. Remember that. The board conferred, voices low. Finally, the chair raised a hand. Officer Kane Bradley, this board finds you guilty of misconduct, abuse of power, and actions unbecoming of your badge. Effective immediately, you are stripped of your position, your pension, and your badge. Furthermore, your case will be referred for criminal prosecution. The gavel struck like thunder. Gasps, murmurs, then silence. Kane's face went white. His swagger collapsed, replaced by panic. He lunged forward, chains rattling. You can't do this. I gave my life to this force. You think the streets are safe without me? Marcus stood, his voice calm, final, safer than they ever were with you. The crowd erupted, some clapping, some crying, some whispering. Finally, Cain's roar echoed through the chamber. You'll regret this, Hale. You all will. But his words fell flat, drowned out by the sound of officers standing, some in shame, some in relief, some in solidarity with the truth that had finally broken through. Marcus turned, not to Cain, but to Jamal, who sat small but steady in his seat. Their eyes met. Marcus nodded once, silently acknowledging the boy who had sparked the turning tide. Justice, long delayed, had spoken. The county jail smelled of bleach and despair. Cain sat behind the glass divider, orange jumpsuit, replacing the navy blue uniform he once wore like armor. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands restless. Across from him sat a public defender, voice flat. The DA is pushing for criminal charges, assault, misconduct, civil rights violations. With the evidence, the best you can hope for is a plea. Cain slammed a fist against the table. I was a cop. I kept order. You can't just... The lawyer's voice cut him off, tired. You're not a cop anymore. You're a defendant. The words landed heavy. Cain slumped, staring at the scratches in the table, the silence louder than his rage. For the first time in years, he wasn't feared. He was forgotten. Across town, the community center overflowed. Reporters lingered outside, but inside was something quieter. Healing. Marcus stood at the front. No podium needed. He faced rows of neighbors, families, officers who had dared to come. Jamal sat in the front row, his phone in his pocket for once. An older woman raised her hand. Mr. Hale, do you really think this changes anything? One man punished doesn't fix the system. Marcus nodded solemnly. You're right. One verdict doesn't end injustice. But silence ends here. Change is slow, but it begins with truth. And now the truth is on record. A young officer in uniform stood. His voice was hesitant. I stayed quiet too long. I thought loyalty meant protecting my partner. But loyalty is supposed to be to the people we serve. I forgot that. I won't again. Murmurs of agreement filled the room. Jamal leaned toward Marcus, whispering, they're actually saying it out loud. Marcus gave him a faint smile. Words are seeds. Let's see what grows. After the gathering, Jamal followed Marcus outside into the cool evening air. The streetlights hummed, casting long shadows. You think he'll really go to prison? Jamal asked quietly. Marcus paused, looking up at the night sky. If the system works, yes. If it doesn't, he'll still never wear a badge again. Either way, his power is gone. Jamal kicked at a pebble. Doesn't feel like enough. Marcus's voice softened. Justice rarely feels like enough. But it's a start. And you gave it that start. Jamal frowned. I didn't do much. I just pressed record. Marcus turned, his gaze steady. You did what grown men in uniform were too afraid to do. Don't ever say it wasn't much. Jamal looked away, blinking fast. Weeks later, Cain's trial date was announced. His name filled headlines. No longer respected officer, but disgraced cop. Former allies dodged reporters. The department announced reforms, mandatory body cams, new oversight committees, small steps, but visible. In the quiet of his office, Marcus read the announcements with a tempered expression. Change was never instant, but ripples had begun. A knock at the door. Jamal entered, backpack slung over his shoulder. They're talking about me in school. Some people think I'm a hero. Some think I just made trouble. Marcus leaned back. And what do you think? Jamal shrugged. I just wanted the truth out. I didn't care what people called me. Marcus nodded slowly. That's what makes it heroic. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom was crowded again. Cain stood before the judge, thinner now, his bravado stripped. The judge's voice was firm. Officer Bradley, the evidence is overwhelming. Your abuse of power has left scars on individuals and the community. You are hereby sentenced to 5 years in state prison. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Cain's shoulders sagged. He opened his mouth, but no words came. But as he was led away in cuffs, Marcus sat silently, watching, not with triumph, but with the gravity of knowing how much damage had already been done. That evening, Marcus walked the streets alone. He passed the very corner where Cain had pulled him over weeks before. The memory pressed heavy, but now it felt different, like the air had shifted. Jamal appeared from down the block, jogging to catch up. They locked him up, huh? Marcus nodded. Jamal grinned faintly. Guess that's what justice looks like. Marcus looked at him, then at the streetlights above. Justice looks like this moment. You, still free to laugh. Me, still here to walk home. That's what it's supposed to be. Jamal tilted his head. You think it'll last? Marcus's voice was quiet, resolute. It will if we make it last. Justice isn't a finish line. It's a fight we carry forward. The boy nodded, the weight of the words settling deep. Together, they walked under the glow of the city, the figures bound not by blood, but by truth, and somewhere in the silence, the echoes of fear faded, replaced by something stronger. Poetic justice had arrived, not just in the downfall of one man, but in the courage that would outlive him.